Whip Steny Hoyer, Democratic Congressman from Maryland, and once a leader, always a leader. It's easy for me to remember. I can't call you Whip Leader or Whip Hoyer, can I? It's Leader.
Leader works for me. Those were the good old
leaders. Not to return anytime soon. No.
Joe, you're such a cynic and such a pessimist.
You guys better on the Senate at this point. Anyway, this deal, can you say that on the you don't like the deal they're talking about?
I don't like the deal that I've heard about, but there is no deal.
Right, but the one that we've heard about, that we've read about.
Yeah, but the fact of the matter is, you know, Chris Van Hollen is chairman of the budget, ranking member of the Budget Committee on our side. He has not been in any of these negotiations, nor have any of the other. It's just been Senator Murray and Congressman Ryan. So really nobody knows what the parameters of an alleged agreement or deal is. What we do know is this morning I read in the paper where Heritage Action and other conservative members of the Republican Party are saying we don't like the deal that they hear about because it involves some additional revenues and some modification of the sequester, which is, Hal Rogers says, is irrational and undoable.
How many guys is that? Do you think they'd have?
Well, you know, they had 144 people voting against opening up government.
They won't have that many this time, though.
Probably not, but the answer is I don't know. I'm not counting votes on their side of the aisle.
So if you had guys like you on your side and guys like them, then you think this is not a done deal. We're counting on this being a done deal, and we're counting on the Fed tapering because this is a done deal. You're going to let us down.
Well, the last time the Fed tapered...
said they were tapering.
You said they were tapering. The stock market went down, as you recall. You and I had that discussion. The fact is that...
No, but it went up. Now it's been going up on that good jobs number, and there's some people saying that think maybe the economy can handle the baton, being passed the baton by the Fed at this point. You don't agree with that? Would you like the Fed to continue at $85 billion a month?
No, I think all of us would like to see the economy get growing better and the Fed back off on its quantitative easing. I think everybody would like that to be the case. The problem is the fiscal policy pursued by the Congress and the administration has not allowed the Fed to do that.
We're all talking about more jobs, healthier economy. Do you think possibly, I have two questions for you. Do you think possibly regulation or over-regulation could be a serious problem with businessmen like me saying, to hell with it, I'll put my money into passive assets? I'm one of 3 founders that started a company that today has 370,000 employees.
Right.
We've created jobs. We know how to create jobs. My partner, Bernie Marcus, is very involved in this job creation council, small companies, because that's where the growth is. Do you people ever take a step back and say, hey, wait a minute? I don't see humor in my question, but I hope if you'll share it with me, I laugh with you.
You people.
Well,
oversimplification.
Well, let me make it even simpler.
Okay.
I got a more basic question. And I've asked John Boehner and I've asked Eric Cantor this question, so it's bipartisan. Do you people in Congress, do you really care how the American people think of you?
Of course.
So what are you doing about it?
We have deep differences of opinion, as you've seen, Ken.
You don't argue with the poll.
First of all, the reason I was laughing at you people, the simplification that all members of Congress are the same, like you people or them, is absolutely untrue.
So you're the good guys and
you watch it closely enough to know
you're the good guys and they're the bad guys.
No, I didn't say that.
Well, I thought he meant Democrats.
No.
That's what I thought he meant.
Pardon me. You know, all you mentioned was look. I'm an avowed Republican,
right?
But I'm more an American than I am a Republican.
We should all be that.
Exactly. And you know what? That's not what we're seeing in the hinterlands. We're seeing pettiness. We're seeing arguing.
I agree with that.
Okay. So I'm asking you this question, and I think you ought to get all the leaders from both parties in a room and say, guys, the public approval rating is 11%. Is that what it is? I know in my industry, if we felt the public felt that way about us, I'd go into a room and say, with not just Home Depot, with Macy's, I'd say, guys, we've got to do something about this. Do you have those meetings?
Sure we do.
What comes out?
As a matter of fact, I led a meeting with 5 Republicans and 5 Democrats for 2.5 years. It ended up having a letter of 100 people, signatories to the super committee. You remember the super committee that resulted from the Budget Control Act, which said if the super committee came out with a deal, we would help pass that deal. Unfortunately, they didn't come out with a deal. Why didn't they come out with a deal? Because the creation of consensus has proved very, very difficult, as you have seen. I think that the Congress's performance is dismal. And to that extent, I think you're right. The American public holds us all accountable for it. I don't think all of us are equally responsible. There are some people who are ideologically committed to a particular point of view. That's when I say 144 Republicans voted against opening up government. That made no sense for you or for the American people.
Let me ask you this.
198 Democrats voted to open up government.
Let me ask you this question.
Sure.
There are extremists on the Republican Party, and if you want me to throw out a name, I will. How about you throwing out a name of an extremist in your party?
I don't think there are any extremists in my party. That may sound...
What more can I say? The other guys are the bad guys. We're the good. Congressman, I am very concerned about the opinion the American people have of their leaders.
The opinion of the American people, with all due respect, is, yes, there is one party now who has 50 or 60 members in the Congress of the United States, and Heritage Action, and Club for Growth, who do not want to see compromise. And they've made that very clear. And as a result, we haven't gotten compromise. Now, the 198 Democrats that voted for the deal that kept government open now that we're now on. Now, you're ignoring me, and you say, well...
I'm not ignoring. I'm listening to every word you're saying.
Let me say.
Most
of those people did not agree with the number. Becky and I had this little argument. Well, won't you compromise? We took the Republican number of sequester. We didn't like that number. But we also understood you got to move the government forward. And so we voted for that number, notwithstanding that. And everybody voted for it, no matter how much they hated it, because they thought that was the right thing to do. So to that extent, there were no extremists. Are there some people more liberal and more conservative in my party? There absolutely is. But I've been at this business a long time, and I will tell you, there is nobody in my caucus, unlike John Boehner, there's nobody in my caucus that I can't go to and say, look, this is not perfect, you don't like it, but this is the deal. 198. There was not a Democrat that voted against a number they did not like because they thought it was the right thing to do. And let me give you a different example. You're in the business community.
Yes, sir.
I don't know what you thought about the temporary, the Troubled Asset Relief Program that George Bush, Hank Paulson asked us to pass.
I had no problem with that.
You didn't have any problem with it, but 2/3 of George Bush's party had a problem with it and voted against it.
Sir, you're making my point right now.
I'm not sure I have. But...
Yes, you have. Your argument about the whole collective body being in low regard, you've taken it now to a partisan issue. I know if I want to make a deal with a guy.
This is the most partisan Congress in which I've served, and I've been there a long time.
Well, explain one thing to me. Yeah. And I don't want to make it. I don't want to make it partisan. I really don't. I mean what I say. I put that pin on every morning. You know what I say? Grandma and Grandpa, thanks for coming to America. Not for making me a Republican.
And my father came to America.
Well, with all due respect, sir, I love this country, and I know you love this country.
Yeah, we all love it.
And I think all of you love this country,
right.
Okay? But in the meantime, why can't somebody make an effort to say, look, what are we going to do about the low regard our voters have for us? Forget it. But you converted this into 198. We were here. They were there. This gets you right back to where we started from.
Facts make a difference. Accountability ought to be held to those who are not cooperating and understanding that you have... Newt Gingrich understood this. Newt Gingrich talked to his perfectionist caucus in 1997 when he made a deal with Bill Clinton. And a lot of people in his party didn't agree with it. His conservative element, ironically. And he said to them, look, I want to talk to my perfectionist caucus people. The American people elected a Democratic president.
I have one more thought.
Senate that disagreed, and we've got to cooperate and make a compromise.
Facts matter.
Facts do matter.
You guys lost control of the House 4 years ago.
Yep.
That would make me take a step back and say, what do I have to do to get back to being where I want to be? You said you called him the whip instead of the majority leader, I guess. Is that what? That was
the other side.
I listened to every word here. Yours too. Every word.
Stanley, one thing that I've always thought is that things don't happen.
Can I say something?
Please.
All right. Elections make a difference. We had an election more recently than 2010, in 2012. President Obama won. What were the two issues in that? Taxes and health care. It made no difference to the House Republicans.
If you do, I know you don't like poll, but you know that Obamacare is at 57%. That's not.
Forget it.
It's that if that was the issue, and it was just Obamacare, you probably wouldn't have gotten 51% because it's 57% against right now.
That was certainly.
But Steny, what elected? I said
were those two
what
issues.
Spawned the Tea Party? What spawned that 2010 rout was the way the Democrats passed Obamacare, where you took 20% of the economy without a single Republican vote. You even lost Ted Kennedy's seat in the process as it was happening. You had to do reconciliation. It was ugly. It poisoned the well, spawned the Tea Party, and that's why we're sitting here today in this atmosphere. And look what we're dealing with Obamacare.
I agree with that. Clearly, that was the case.
Do you think you should have done it that way?
But the fact of the matter is, we were also in the deepest recession anybody here has experienced.
Yeah. Can I ask one question?
Which leads to anger, fear, and reaction against all of those that they felt responsible had put them in that trick bag.
We are up against a hard break with the commercial, but Leader, would you stay for the next break so we can let you talk a little bit more? We can get through a lot of this.
I'm enjoying this conversation. Ken, by the way, when we leave this, Ken is going down and say Hoyer was right.
Okay, we're going to hold on this conversation in just a moment. We have more of a great lineup still to come this morning on Squawk. Welcome back, everybody. We are joined again by House Minority Whip Hoyer, the Democratic congressman from Maryland. And Leader Hoyer, we talked a little bit about what you didn't like in the reports we've heard of this budget deal being worked out right now, this potential budget deal that is obviously just being done right now between Paul Ryan and Patty Murray. Right. What would you like? What would be a deal that you think would be something that you could take?
As you know, I want a big deal. I want something that does this for 10 years. I get back to we need to deal with taxes. We need to deal with regulations. We need to make it in America. We need to manufacture things in America. We need to grow our economy. We need to grow jobs. We need to be focused on jobs. There is so much on the agenda that we haven't done, and we're talking about a very small nick in what we ought to be doing. I think that's not the Congress ought to be better than that. We ought not to be dealing in small bore, because to grow our economy, we need to give confidence to our business community and to our people. And in order to do that, we need to get our country on a fiscally sustainable path, long term, not in months.
But I imagine the way you get there and the way he gets there are different, and that's the issue.
You said regulation. We need to focus more or less?
Less.
Thank God.
The fact of the matter is that every bipartisan commission, you say the way I would get there, Simpson-Bowles, bipartisan.
Absolutely.
Domenici-Rivlin, bipartisan. Gang of Six, bipartisan. That's how I would get there.
Can you get the rest of your party there?
I can get enough of them. I can get more than half. Yes.
Okay. Can you get your guys going? You're not a DC man.
I'm not the most popular guy in Washington because I talk to these people the way I talk to them because I'm an American.
Okay, you got to stop talking about these people. There are 435 people. Believe me, they all have different views.
The American people think of you all the same.
I agree. Okay, but they don't have as much information as you have.
Simpson-Bowles was the president's commission. Where's the presidential leadership to push Simpson-Bowles? What happened to it?
Who's got a long-term, balanced provision on the table? The President of the United States.
But not Simpson-Bowles.
It wasn't exactly Simpson-Bowles, but it's a balanced.
It was not Simpson-Bowles. It was far from Simpson-Bowles.
And he's one of you people that he's talking about.
I have a question. You say it was far from. What he adopted was entitlement reform, revenues, and cuts in spending. Right. So when you say it was far from Simpson-Bowles, that was accurate, but it was certainly. Consistent with his discussion.
Why not take it just the way it was and try and do it? You could have done it. The Republicans probably could have done it.
The Republicans who walked away from Simpson-Bowles
on the commission. I know, but that was because of Obamacare.
And
but you know why? You still got 12 or something, or 13.
They walked away because it wasn't perfect from their
because of Obamacare. They said because it funded Obama. That's what Ryan said. He came in and told us that.
Everything's about Obamacare. Get off this.
Let's get off it, please.
Yeah.
I have a question. Right now. I would love for you to sit down with two people, Stan Druckenmiller and Jeff Canada, about generational theft. Children aren't born yet that are going to have...
You and I agree.
Okay.
I talk about that all the time.
All right. Well, you know what? Here's an effort where we can make it together. Let's get out to all these colleges, because you know and I know, if you energize these kids and you're going to vote on an entitlement bill, you're going to lose these kids' votes. You haven't got just AARP in one ear and nobody in the other. You got a bunch of people that might vote you out of office. It works. We all know one thing. The first thing that matters down there is getting reelected.
Well, the
You
first
might
thing,
take issue with that, but that's all right.
what I've told my caucus, you cannot govern a great country like America in a 24-month cycle.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
You can't do it. You got to take long-term risk and you take a long-term view. That's why this budget deal is so bad. But let me tell you something. We have unemployment insurance we've got to deal with. We're not talking about it. We go out this week. 1.3 million people are going to go off unemployment and won't be able to buy any products or buy food or anything of that nature. We ought to pass that. Immigration reform. Immigration reform is good for business, and you're for it.
Absolutely.
We're not dealing with that. The Senate passed a 68 to 32
I'm a Democrat now.
I'm getting you. I'm working on you.
You're working like hell. You're not coming.
I'm trying to make a sale.
I'm coming my half way. You're not coming your half way.
Speech earlier about regulations and taxes, all that. You sounded. Was that catered to CNBC's audience?
No.
We loved hearing that. We never hear.
Joe, I'm a big make it in America person. I want to expand manufacturing. I've talked about that all the time. We need to deal with taxes, regulations, and we need to deal with getting our country on a fiscally sustainable path. So we won't be going to the precipice of debt limit every 6 months or 8 months. We won't be going to the precipice of not funding government. We'll have a stability in the government. The fact of the matter is, SGR, the reimbursement of docs for Medicare services. We ought to be dealing with that. We haven't dealt with that.
Yeah, it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be an issue.
We got 3 days left to go in this session. Very frankly, if I were the majority leader, I'd be ashamed that we had this much on the table with 3 days left to go and we hadn't dealt with it, because that leads to instability in our country.
Because now Grover's coming on.
Oh, I hate to miss Grover. Grover's for a balanced deal, I know.
If you get a chance to watch me and him, you'll understand I'm bipartisan, okay?
Okay.
I promise.
You go after all of us.
Absolutely.
Let me tell you what I tell the press.
Go ahead.
They say they're 9, 10, 11% of the people who think Congress is worth a darn. You know what I tell them? I said, I want to find those 9, 10, or 11% because they don't know what's going on. I'm 100% disappointed with the performance of the Congress of the United States.
If Stan and Jeff come down, these are numbers, these are hard numbers, and understand what's happening specifically. I think it would be illuminating for all of you people to understand why we need entitlement reform badly.
They don't need to convince me. I've said this now for the last 2.5 years. Right, Becky?
You have, and this has been a message you've been very consistent on, and we appreciate it.
And I'm glad I came on your program. Joe, Becky.
Where's my guest?
Yeah.
Stanny, thank you very much for joining us and for spending extra time with us.
Appreciate it very much.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
Again, Stanny Hoyer.